What's up, everybody? Happy Monday night. Welcome back into LTL. Wow. This has been it's been crazy. Been sitting back watching this the last 5 days of how the Charlie Kirk assassination has all been unfolding, watching what the reports are in the media. I'm sure you guys all are too. I mean, this is the biggest story that's going on right now in the world, literally in the world. And I just want to approach this as far as talking about the situation itself. When I started talking about this a couple of days ago, um, free speech, this has a lot to do with free speech. And I know that there's tons of politics involved in this, the left, the right. The left is saying this, the right is saying that. I understand all of that. That is a piece to the puzzle here. But a lot of this is I want to know about the situation. And, I've been very curious about how all of this came together. We're seeing that we're getting a little bit more answers, but not really. It's just been wild watching this all unfold and just seeing what has been said on Twitter. And, this reports that Tyler Robinson is not cooperating, but they're digging more into his devices, his computer, talking to friends, talking to family, talking to his live-in roommate that apparently is trans and in a relationship with. And I guess that roommate is being very cooperative with authorities, but Robinson is not. So it's been I just sit here and say, did this guy work alone? And I have that up in my poll. Do you think he worked alone? If not, he's got one good hell of a lawyer that's telling him to shut the fuck up. But, we have to start asking that question. Did he work alone? Will we find out? Will they be able to dig in to his devices and see? So let's do this. Let's see who's in the chat. Welcome in. Make sure to smash that like button. Jenny's here. Welcome in, Jenny. Good to see you. Sandy's here. Good to see you. Heatherlicious in the house. Good to see you. Cindy's here. Beach Life from Mass. Nice to see you as well. Love a Nurse. Hello. How are you? Thank you for being here. Appreciate you. Not there yet. Says, I do believe Tyler worked alone. Lots of questions behind the scenes activity. Yeah. Let's see. Peter says, Tyler probably stopped cooperating to use it as leverage to avoid the death penalty. If you kill him, you will never know from him. It's very true. And we saw that in the Brian Koberger case, where the prosecution and the state worked out a deal with him. We're probably never, ever going to know what exactly happened in that case, but we can only go off what the evidence says. So, it's like, I fucking hate these people because they do these deeds, they get caught, the death penalty gets put on the table, and then they end up working out a deal to live out the rest of their life in prison, but we never see it go to trial, and we never have any real conclusion to what happened, or they never talk about it. They never confess. Again, we saw that kind of in the Koberger case, and it's like these fucking people, they gain like that upper hand again, and then these families have to live with this, trauma for the rest of their life because there's no, I don't want to say conclusion, but you never really truly find out what happened. And it's annoying. It's frustrating. Let's see. Garden State Accountability says, I definitely don't think so. So he thinks that someone is working with Robinson. Hello, Tammy. How are you? Good to see you. Limp Nurse is in. Hello. How are you? Yeah, I mean, this is a very good, interesting point too. It says, however, I'm not sure I believe the roommate knew nothing. Yeah, we're not sure. Nick Johnson checking in said, liked watching from Wyoming. Good to see you. Cat Toes is here. Glad that you're talking about this. Well, I'm glad that you're here. This is an important subject. We should have the right to free speech. I don't want to see anybody, and I talked about this on my shows the other night. I don't want to see anybody that goes out and talks about certain subjects and opens up conversation for people to join in, for something like this to happen to them, to get assassinated over words, over subjects that should be talked about in America and around the world. We have the right to do that here. I don't want to see free speech shut down. I wouldn't want to see anybody on the left be shot just as much as I don't want to see anybody on the right be shot. This person was a human being that had a wife and a family and a long future ahead of them. He was very young, 31 years old. Leroy Truth checking in. Good to see you. All right, so let's do this. Let's go. I like this too. EBH says something doesn't seem right. They're not telling us everything. More people are definitely involved. That very well may be. I mean, when is the last time the FBI has come out and said, "Oh, here's everything that we know. Just going to put it all out there for everybody. We'll tell you what we're investigating." You know, FBI tends to strike when they know for sure. Let's see. Leroy says, I'm politically neutral channel, so I'm not pro or anti Charlie Kirk. Whoever stating facts are Charlie Kirk gave anyone who opposed or disagreed with his ideas a platform to speak freely. I like that. We should have the allowed to have platforms to speak freely. And that's why I wanted to talk about this. I know that this subject pisses off some people. I've lost subscribers off my channel because I've been talking about this, but I want people to look at the overall picture of this subject. It's about free speech. We have the right to say those things. I mean, given, I don't want to hear not true Nazi bullshit or, true racism shit. Those people can go to hell. Fuck those people. That stuff needs to be shut down in a second. But allowing someone to come out and have an open conversation and pass the mic to people that may not oppose those certain subjects or ideology should be able to have those conversations in public in a respectful way. And from what I understand and from what I've known about Charlie and what I've watched about Charlie over the years is that he's approached this in a very respectful way. Hang on one second. Okay. So let's do this. I want to go through the timeline, and then I have a new article that has the most updated information on Charlie Kirk's assassination. And then I have a couple of videos that we're going to go through with some new details. So tons of things to get into tonight. So again, please make sure to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't done that yet. Let's go through the timeline. So we look at Friday, August 29th. Ahead of Kirk's visit to Utah Valley University, a change.org petition is started titled, quote, "Prevent Charlie Kirk from speaking at Utah Valley University." And the thing that I saw a lot about this too, that I want to talk about is, listen, and we tend to do this when we see videos like this of tragic situations, and we see that the way that people react in and around these tragic situations, people start kind of honing in on someone and they look and they go, could this person be in on this whole, this whole tragedy? Are they signaling? Are they doing this? Look at the way that they're scratching their nose. Look at the way that they're tipping their hat. Believe me, we dig into these things. I'm going to tell you right along with it. The FBI and the authorities have already looked over all these videos, probably made contact with most of these people so far and have interviewed them. But we can only assume. I don't know. Are other people involved? And that's the bigger question here. Obviously, Robinson is not talking. Smoking Gun says the FBI has admitted there are multiples involved in being investigated and likely charged. They have a careful legally with the process evidence announcement so they don't compromise the case. Exactly. And that may be. Let's see. I want to go back up. Lots of good conversation going on. And I love the fact that it was being respectful, because whether you agree or disagree of this, the last couple chats that I've done and I've had, people have been very respectful. And that's what I want to do. Open up respectful conversation. All right, let's go back into the timeline. Excuse me. Allergy season this year, this time of year. I hate it. Okay, so we have Wednesday, September 3rd, Utah Valley University releases a statement affirming its, quote, commitment to free speech, intellectual inquiry, and constructive dialogue. So now we have September 10th, 12:52 a.m. The suspect, the shooter, arrives on campus, according to Bo Mason, the commissioner of Utah Department of Public Safety, who spoke at a Wednesday news conference following Kirk's death. At noontime, Kirk kicks off the event in the fountain courtyard of the Utah Valley University Orem campus. And I was listening to some experts talk about this earlier. You know, the area that Charlie was in, it was so wide open. So there was really no coverage around him. We only know, certain aspects of the level of security that he had too. And I know that this debate has been thrown around. Why not just before this event kicks off or during the event, why not fly a drone, an approved drone in and around the area when these events, I'm guarantee you're going to start seeing this now. You're going to start seeing a drone or a few drones be flown during these conversations, during these types of events. I'm pretty sure. But a lot of people were talking like, why didn't they surveil the area with a drone before, knowing that these can be very heated situations, that people that may oppose this type of conversations or this type of political ideology could be out to hurt someone. So, that has been, something that's been debated now too. And I'm guarantee you this is going to be something that you're going to see most likely going forward. You'll see drones in and around these events, maybe an approved drone that can be there. Okay, so we have approximately 12:20 p.m. as the debate portion to Kirk's event began. One gunshot rang out. Utah University spokesperson Eleanor Trenner told AP authorities believe the gunshot came from the Luce Center at about 200 yards, 183 meters away from where Kirk was speaking. At 12:23, Utah Valley University police states, Alpha 34, we have shots fired. Kirk is down, according to the broadcast recorded from the department dispatch line made available by Open MHZ. Shortly after, a different officer notes that there was a gunfire and Kirk is, quote, on his way to the ambulance. He's on his way to the hospital. At 12:39 p.m., FBI agents arrived at the scene at Utah Valley University, according to FBI Director Kash Patel. Around this time, video begins to appear on social media. I remember looking on X. It was blowing up. That showed Kirk speaking it showed that Kirk was speaking into a handheld microphone while sitting under a white tent with the slogan, American Comeback and Prove Me Wrong. A single shot rang out, and Kirk can be seen reaching up with his right hand as a large volume of blood gushes from his left side of his neck. Stunned spectators are heard gasping and screaming before people start to run. At 12:47 p.m., Utah Valley University issues an alert. A single shot was fired. It also states that suspect in custody. From 12:40 p.m., Donald Trump announces on social media that Kirk has died. 12:45 p.m., Orem Mayor David Young says a suspected shooter remains at large. So we've already got misinformation. They said at 12:47 he was in custody. At 2:45, just about almost 2 hours later, the suspected shooter is still at large. 4:21 p.m., Patel on social media that the subject for the horrific shooting today that took the life of Charlie Kirk is now in custody. That's at 4:21 p.m. During a news conference, authorities claim Kirk had brought to Pingos Regional Hospital and died there. They say that no one is in custody and the suspect remains at large. So you're getting this push and pull with people. You're getting he's been caught, he hasn't been caught. So clearly even the authorities is not even handling this correctly at this time. At 5:59 p.m., Patel posts on social media, the subject is in custody, has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement. Our investigation continues, and we will continue to release information in the interest of transparency. And we heard about this. There was alleged two people that had been brought into custody as the suspect alleged shooters. But you're still getting this push-pull with the public, this back and forth. Is there any clarity to the situation? September 11th, you have at 7:55 p.m., the FBI said it was looking for a person of interest and released a series of photos showing the person wearing a hat, sunglasses, and long black sleeve shirt, and a backpack. Police released video of the person racing across the roof of the building where authorities say the shots were fired, dropping to the ground and walking off campus. At some point that evening, a family member of Robinson reached out to his family friend who contacted authorities with information that Robinson confessed or implied that he carried out the shooting. The Utah Governor Spencer Cox said on Friday. At 10 p.m., Robinson was taken into custody, officials said on Friday. On the 12th, 8:05 a.m., authorities announced that 22-year-old Robinson from Utah is in custody and Kirk's shooting. Robinson was booked into Utah County Jail. At around 10:20 a.m., probable cause statement outlines evidence gathered at Robinson's home, where he was arrested on suspicion of aggravated murder, felony discharge of a weapon causing serious bodily injury, and obstruction from justice. All are state felony charges, and aggravated murder carries the possible of the death penalty in the state of Utah. Formal charges expected early this week. So tomorrow he is facing his first court appearance. Okay, let's look at this. I found a 3D model of what it actually looks like of that day. This is pretty interesting. This is from the Moog YouTube channel, and let's play this out.
On Wednesday, September 10th, 2025, Charlie Kirk speaks at an event in Orem, Utah. It is at the Sorensen Center courtyard on the campus of Utah Valley University. The event, part of his American Comeback Tour,
Thank you so much.
features his signature Prove Me Wrong debate format. Kirk is positioned at a table beneath a large tent. Students come up and have a chance to ask him a question and debate with him. Approximately 20 minutes into his presentation, an audience member identified as a student questions him about mass shootings.
Do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
As I said, I mean, look at that open area. It's massively wide open. There's no coverage. Okay, let's go.
Okay, now 5 is a lot, right? I'm going to give you some credit. Do you know how many shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Kirk asks a question, but then it gets interrupted.
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
Oh my God.
Go, run. Oh.
When Charlie is 18 years old, he speaks at a college. He just seems like any other young American conservative. But at that college, he catches someone's eye. Will Montgomery sees that Charlie gets attention. While other conservative speakers are boring, young people listen to Charlie Kirk. A month later, in September 2012, he and the 18-year-old launched Turning Point USA.
What Turning Point USA stands for, what we're trying to do is we're going into the high schools and the colleges to challenge these textbooks that publish flat out falsehoods and fallacies.
It's a nonprofit organization established to promote conservative values, specifically among young Americans through high school and college campuses.
I'm only 19 years old. I'm fighting this fight every single day. I get to go to college campuses, high schools. I debate professors. I debate socialists.
It's not an immediate success, but Turning Point steadily grows into something larger than Charlie.
We'll probably recruit 4,000 to 5,000 new students, collect their data. It's a high energy conference for us. It's a way to reward our best members that have been.
They organize speeches with ever bigger conservative American thinkers. The young Charlie Kirk quickly becomes a fixture of the American political conservative landscape.
I started an organization, Turning Point USA, 2.5 years ago, around 2 key values: free markets and limited government.
In 2016, he speaks at the Republican National Convention. When Trump secures the Republican nomination, he and Turning Point embrace the MAGA movement. Charlie Kirk gets a direct line to the president. At the same time, he begins using modern media outlets as a way to spread his political message. But they're also a means for generating content that gets attention. He gets millions of views, in large part fueled by debates on college campuses. In 2018 comes Campus Clash, a college tour with Candace Owens. In 2024,
Yeah, I want to just address this really quick. Michael said on another channel, he played the video of the car chase the TMZ used to watch. The car had just turned R going about 20 miles an hour. The person announced CK had passed, and then they cheered, and then it was, and then it's yes. So I actually watched that. I can't remember what channel it was. It was one of the talk show channels, but they said, you know, TMZ has video cameras everywhere. Okay, and this apparent alleged car chase they were watching literally was a nothing burger. It was like a 10 to 20 mile an hour straight chase through what I think it was at Los Angeles or something like that. And then in that video, the newscaster said that Charlie Kirk had died. And then everybody at TMZ, you can hear it in the video, they cheered. And they're trying to say that it was, you know, they were reacting to the car chase. It's bullshit. It's absolutely bullshit. And, you know, again, I mean, if this was, I don't know, who can I say on the left? If this was, you know, Joe Biden, you know, I wouldn't want anybody cheering that death. That's insane. You know, that's insane to cheer anybody's death like that. Is just insane. While having free speech conversation, it's crazy.
the You're Being Brainwashed tour, a college tour with former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. On September 10th, 2025, Kirk initiates the American Comeback Tour, a series of events for college students across the United States. The format includes his classic Prove Me Wrong table sessions, where he invites attendees to debate his political and cultural viewpoints in a public setting. The event at Utah Valley University is designated as the first stop on this tour.
I'm going to pause this really quick again, too. You know, things that I know Charlie's wearing that white shirt that said freedom on it. I'm seeing like these companies popping up and making these shirts and saying, oh, wear the shirt with pride that Charlie died in that day. I'm like, these companies are sick. I mean, to even put any shirts out like that, you know, I don't know if that's a turning point shirt that they sell, but I'm seeing, you know, these non-turning point companies popping up, you know, all over my apps and my feeds and, you know, trying to profit off of this. It's disgusting. All right, here we go.
Eyewitness accounts describe hearing
We
a
watched
loud
this video
bang.
the other day.
Get closer? Are they like restricting you guys up here or what?
Nah, it's too crowded.
It's just there's just so much. So
Before we had a flag and we had it so it's positioned above the tent so it would be in the camera. It made us move.
What was that? God! He just got shot! Holy shit! Holy shit!
Immediately following the sound, Charlie Kirk's head jerks backwards. A significant volume of blood gushes from his neck. Although an autopsy is yet to be released, speculations state he is hit partially in his jugular and spine. Phone footage shows that audience members react to the noise instinctively, collectively looking to the right and then crouching down. People scatter in multiple directions.
And also, too, I want to talk about here. So where the front of his tent was, there's a camera that was there, like right in front of his tent. And it's like they were, I believe from what I was reading, and it was filming the crowd, filming Charlie. And it's like, where, you know, where's that footage? Can you see anybody else in that footage? Can you see the shooter in that footage? All right, let's keep playing here.
And then crouching down. People scatter in multiple directions. His security personnel and multiple police officers cover him and try to bring him away to surrounding vehicles as soon as possible. Through phone recordings later released on Twitter, a figure is identified on the roof of the Losey Center.
So there's somebody on the roof right there? Just saying? He just ran from over, where's my finger? From over there, ran in, and now he's right there.
Why are we not reporting that?
A
to
building
authorities?
located approximately 200 yards or 180 meters from Kirk's position. It seems the shooter is lying in a prone position, shooting down with a clear view of his target. This individual is observed both prior to and following the shot, and is seen retreating from the rooftop. Based on these videos, the shooter is placed at a more accurate guesstimation of 100 to 120 meters from where Kirk is sitting. Presumably, the shooter escapes over the roof of the building after taking the shot. Charlie Kirk is carried to a police vehicle parked just behind the tent where he is speaking from. He's then transported to the local Timpanogos Regional Hospital. Initial reports indicate his condition is critical. Utah Valley University spokeswoman Ellen Trainor states that a suspect is in custody and it's not a student.
Dare you! How dare you! How dare you! How dare you! How dare you!
Political figures begin to issue statements. President Donald Trump posts on Truth Social, calling for prayers for Charlie Kirk. Vice President J.D. Vance also expresses calls for prayer. Utah Governor Spencer Cox condemns the violence, as does California Governor Gavin Newsom and many other prominent political figures. At 2:26 MDT, FBI Director Kash Patel also announces on social media that a suspect in the shooting is in custody.
Now, we have a person of interest in custody.
But only a couple of hours later, all statements are retracted. Cox clarifies that George Zinn, the individual initially detained, is not the assassin, but has been charged with obstruction of justice. A second suspect is also arrested, but later released. As of right now, the authorities state their investigation continues. At around 2:40 MDT, Charlie Kirk's death is finally confirmed. President Donald Trump announces it on Truth Social. He is survived by his wife, daughter, and son.
To my great fellow Americans, I am filled with grief and anger at the heinous assassination of Charlie Kirk on a college campus in Utah.
The cause of death is confirmed as a gunshot wound to the neck. No further suspects have been taken into custody as of September 11th at the time of this upload. President Trump orders all American flags to be lowered to half-staff.
Let me just get to this really quick. If you notice the clinched movement of his right hand after he was shot, that's called a cadavic spasm, which occurs the moment of death. Jenny, I heard a lot of reports too that, basically that I was watching, who was it? Her name's like Mary the Mortician. She has a channel as a mortician I was watching, and she was talking about that shot would basically instantly that shot to the jugular because it supplies the total amount of blood to your brain instantly, probably passed away. And then that just the pulse that they had was, I forget how she worded it or said it. Basically, it's just, the pulse that they're getting is kind of like involuntary. It's just kind of like his body was just completely dying, at that point. She had some special medical terms for it, but I tend to agree. I think that just that shot was it. So let's see. Scalzo Photo, thank you so much. People are talking about increased security drastically, but this could have been stopped by simply watching each roof. Minimal expense. Yeah, I mean, I talked about why not fly a drone over before? Check the roofs. I think it's Lauren the Mortician. Yeah. She got a lot of subscribers. She was talking a lot about it. All right, let's finish this out, and then we'll get into a couple more videos that surfaced this morning.
Across the country until Sunday evening as a mark of respect. We are reminded again of how real the present danger of political shootings is in the United States.
It's a tragic day for our nation. I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination.
For us, on the outside, looking in from Europe, it's a brutal reminder of how politically heated things are in the country across the ocean. This video wasn't a walk in the park. It took us less than a day after the shooting happened to get a full 3D video production in motion and we rendered more than 50,000 frames to be able to do it. The only reason we could was because of our render farm, which lets us render Blender animations faster and more.
All right, we got a commercial here at the end, but yeah, I just want to watch through that. All right, let's check out this morning. This broke early this morning. FBI investigating possibility of crowd assisting Kirk suspect. Dan Bongino is going to talk about that, and this is very interesting too, because now this point is being raised. That's what I said, and I have it in my poll. Do you think that Robinson worked alone? Do you think, let me know in the chat, do you think he worked alone? If you do, give me a 1. If you don't, type a 2. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're new here, make sure to subscribe, like this video as well. All right, here we go. Let's play this.
So good morning, everyone. On this Monday morning, we saw an outpouring of support from coast to coast over the weekend, north into Canada for the late Charlie Kirk, how people across the country now are paying tribute, as we say. Although somber weekend, we'll get to everything this coming week. We'll take it day by day. I'm Bill Hemmer. Dana's got the week off, and welcome to our coverage as we begin anew to our old friend.
Tough couple of days. Good morning to you. Good to see you. I'm Aisha Husney, and this is America's Newsroom. So it was a weekend of remembrance, Bill. Everybody from musicians to athletes and everyday Americans all mourning Charlie Kirk.
Charlie, 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 Charlie.
It's been hitting me harder in the last couple of days, and I just wanted to let Erica Kirk know that me and my family are sending prayers our way. USA! 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 USA!
So now we know that Charlie Kirk's memorial service is set for Sunday in Arizona. President Trump will be there. It will be held in a football stadium where the Arizona Cardinals play, capacity 78,000 possibly. Wow. This is Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, reacted to the assassination on Friday evening and then sent out a few of these photos from over the weekend. She vows to continue his legacy and make the movement even stronger than what he started.
Meanwhile, Bill, we are still learning more about his suspected assassin. Officials are telling us that he is not cooperating with them, but his family and his friends are talking. And FBI Director Kash Patel gave us an update on this investigation this morning. Listen.
I can report today that the DNA hits from the towel that was wrapped around the firearm and the DNA on the screwdriver are positively processed for the suspect in custody.
So a lot of the controversy about this too that I heard was that to get down off that roof, you know, it appears that he disassembled the weapon, but when they found the weapon was fully put together in the woods where it was found in that wooded area. So it's like, how does that happen? And that's kind of the big how to do about this right now. It's a lot of weird stuff. And that's why I said, I wait like a day before I come on and talk about everything. Cause I like to just gather, you know, I like to see this in kind of a 24-hour news cycle and not just hit on stuff right away. I like to see how it hits and how it lies and then where is it going to go? So this has been a very interesting point, too, that's been raised.
The suspect wrote a note saying, I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. That note was written before the shooting. Evidence of its existence, we now have learned, existed before the shooting, was in the location in the suspect and partner's home. But we have since learned that the note, even though it has been destroyed, we have found forensic evidence of the note, and we have confirmed what that note says because of our aggressive interview posture at the FBI.
We're going to get into all of that with FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino. He's here with us this morning. But first, let's go to Garrett Tenney. He is in Spanish Fork, Utah. Good morning to you.
Aisha, good morning to you. Apart from that note that Director Patel mentioned, we have also learned that Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin also sent a text message to a different individual saying essentially the same thing, that he had an opportunity to take Charlie out and that he was going to do it because he hated what Charlie stood for. So this is part of the investigation now, looking into who knew what and when. And as part of that, we've learned the FBI is investigating left-wing groups in Utah to see if they knew about the accused killer's plans or provided him with any kind of help.
We're seeing who talked to who, not just in chat groups. We're seeing who texted who was around who. We're using our geofencing capabilities to map out exactly where individuals were. And then we're also getting into their personal
there's other
cell
people
phone
involved.
information, say, were you calling so-and-so? Were you texting so-and-so? And we know the suspect was communicating with folks.
We're also getting a glimpse into the suspect's mindset during the days after the assassination.
Wow.
This new surveillance video obtained by TMZ shows the 22-year-old walking up to UVU's campus the morning of the shooting, just as about 4 hours before it happened, wearing a maroon shirt and light-colored shorts. We know he later changed into this outfit that the FBI released images of. After those images went out, we have learned that some of the suspect's friends in an online group chat were joking that he looked just like the man in those pictures.
I was on a
The
Discord
New York
server.
Times reports that the suspect allegedly replied that his doppelganger was trying to, quote, get me in trouble. And when another friend joked that the group could turn him in for the reward, the suspect allegedly said, quote, only if I get a cut. Back here at the Utah County Jail, officials tell us the suspect is being held in a separate unit under special watch to make sure he doesn't hurt himself or others before his first court appearance tomorrow. We're told he will appear virtually and that ahead of that hearing, prosecutors will formally file charges against him. Aisha?
Okay, Garrett Tenney live for us. Garrett, thank you.
So Dan Bongino is the FBI Deputy Director. And sir, thank you for your time this morning. Important stuff here after a very heavy weekend. Thank you for being here. I want to go back to last week on the day that he was killed. Try and clear up a few things as best we can. Did anyone in that crowd aid or assist this assassination?
Well, that's what we're looking into now, Bill. Obviously, we have a suspect in custody. It's quite clear. It's why I'm here discussing this individual. However, if this was a larger effort, there was any aiding and abetting, whether it be financial, whether it be someone who knew the specifics of it and failed to report that. As you heard the director say this morning, we as an FBI, our team, along with our state and local partners, are looking into that. We have a lot of technical capabilities, a lot of good investigative capabilities, where we can scrub that entire network, whether it's OSINT, open source intel, through social media that people posted publicly. We'll be looking at that. We'll also be dropping a lot of paper, a lot of subpoenas out there to take a look to see if there was any extended network. But I want to be clear, there are things I can say, as you well know today, and things I can't. I don't want to get ahead or jeopardize the investigation. But when I can what I can share with you, Bill, I will. We are clinging to transparency here. This is the era of the, Cronkite and Jennings generation is over. New media now is media. And we want to be sure we can do everything in our power to share what we can, when we can, while still balancing the needs of the investigation.
Okay, I heard Kash Patel.
Wow. I mean, does this open up the possibility? Does it open up the door? I mean, you got to think, the thing that they have to go back and look at is start looking at the social media activity, start looking through his phone. When did this idea happen? Who was he speaking to? Was he tipping anybody? Was he saying any types of tips or leading anybody into any specific direction that he may do something like this? Did someone know about it? Was some of his friends having conversations about it? Was he talking to someone outside the circle of his friends or his parents or his family? Where if this guy got radicalized to do something like this? Where was the idea from? So there's so many questions to ask in all of this. Deborah, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. Coco jumping in saying, hey, Brian, I love that you're on. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And I want to go back and address. So I just went up and looked, and I want to address this. I only see that comment from you, but that's fine. Goodbye. I mean, I don't see that your comment was removed. That's the only comment that I've seen in the chat. Okay, let's keep going here.
90 minutes ago in our program, when we get to a couple of things that he made news on, but first I want to drill in on this. Is there any connection at all between the person who was asking the question about mass shooters and trans killers, or was that just a stunning coincidence when that single shot was fired?
Well, we're investigating that. I don't want to say conclusively right now if there was a connection or not. Sometimes Charlie was known to speak out about these issues. He was a powerful voice. It's not terribly uncommon for him to get questions like that. However, we are looking into that. Any potential connection here.
Okay, so
we're going to scrub.
I'm not drawing conclusions from your answer, but you're saying it's a possibility. Is that what I hear you saying?
We're looking into everything, Bill. There's not going to be a stone left unturned if there was anyone involved who aided or abetted. I can't say that.
Do you think there's a possibility? What do you guys think? Do you think Bongino's saying that there is a possibility? Let me know what you think. If you think, does this change your mind now? Does this change your mind? Is there possible people in connection with this that was helping Robinson? If you think, just after what we heard Bongino say, if you think, let me know. Put a 1 in the chat. Do you think that someone else could be helping? Put a 2 in the chat if you don't.
Long enough terms. Every single FBI asset on this team is being applied and used in this investigation.
Okay, after he fired that single fatal shot, we've got the video of him jumping off the backside of the building. Where is the gun when he drops 15 feet down to the grass below?
Well, if you look at the video, the gun is you'll see in the back of the when you're watching the video right there, it appears from the video here that the gun is either in the backpack or on him. When he jumps down, this is where, by the way, this part of the video, this is where we got a significant portion of the forensic evidence in the case, which we had to expedite. We had a number of assets, including fixed wing assets, to be able to fly. If obviously Salt Lake and that specific area in Provo is not around the corner from FBI labs, it was difficult. But we were able, during that scene, him grabbing that particular side of the building and jumping down, we were able to gather a significant amount of forensic information, which we expedited back to the lab, which was the key, I think, piece of information that we were able to crack this thing open.
Okay. Just looking at that video, it's hard to see the weapon, and that's why the question is still obvious to me today. Kash Patel said earlier today that he expressed to someone that he had an opportunity to take out the killer and was going to do it. Did that person do anything with that information?
Yeah, that's what we're really disturbed about. It appears that this was communicated. You see this a lot, Bill, when in targeted violence cases, assassinations, school shootings, where the individual expresses in advance in a good swath of these cases his desire or her desire to do these specific things. That appears to be the case here as well, where the intent component was there in advance and the target was announced in advance prior. Now, that's the part we want to know. Did they know and not say? Now, Bill, you have to keep in mind, and I don't want anyone to jump to conclusions on this. Did they say it, hear it, and think it was some kind of a joke? That's what we're trying to find out now. But I promise you, if there's a larger network here, we're going to get that out to the public as soon as we can. We really are.
Okay, the reason why this is really important to your investigation, understanding motive that I'll get to in a moment here, is that I believe that if I've got the dates right here, that event was announced 1 week before it happened. And we've got the reporting from over the weekend that said that the killer, the accused killer now, expressed views with his family at a dinner table. And I don't know what the timeline is between when that happened. Was it hours or was it days? Clearly it had to be at least a couple days, if not less. And if he also expressed this opinion that he had an opportunity to take out Kirk and was going to do it, well, when was that message transmitted?
Yeah,
from the point that Charlie.
Kim, I didn't see that. She's asking, weren't there reports of strange vehicles parked outside the shooter's home in the weeks before? I didn't see any reports about that. Was there a confirmed source that said that? If there is, let me know and I'll look it up. But I hadn't seen that. That's interesting. All right, let's go
Well, he
back
was
to Dan
killed.
Bonagino.
This is the troubling part of the investigation as I see it now. There appear to have been multiple warning signs. You just laid out some of them. There were people in his network, friends and family, who had stated that he had become more political, that he had become, at some parts, I believe some of his coworkers had stated that he had kind of detached himself when the topic of politics came up and walked away from them. Family members said he'd become more political, leading us to believe that this ideology had infected him and had taken over. And he was just intent, it appears, from the data we've accumulated and the channel and that note, which we have some evidence may have existed before based on the communications in that channel, that his target was obviously going to be Charlie and that people knew in advance. The question is, again, I just want to go back to what you had asked before. Did they know? Were they sure of this? Or did they hear this and just write it off? That's what we're going to have to find out. And that's what we're investigating now. Bill, this investigation is just begun. This isn't even the beginning of the beginning. You know, yes, we have a subject in custody. You know, everybody's innocent until proven guilty in our constitutional republic. However, this is not done by any stretch. Our men and women out there in the Bureau have worked tirelessly all week. And I just got back to D.C. Last night. And, Cash and I were out there on the scene. We walked the scene. We went through every single component of it. We saw the evidence up close and personal. And we went out there to be able to make command decisions with our team on the ground. And I think the process, although not perfect, of course, I think the process went pretty well considering we got him in 33 hours.
Okay, yeah, I respect the process here too. The governor, Cox, said he had a leftist ideology. I don't know what issues were important to him. Maybe you can share that with us today. And Kash Patel said, if I've got this right, he said, I'm looking at facts, not motive. What's the working theory now as to motive?
Well, I think it's pretty clear based on the statements of family members, friends, and some of the messaging we have on these digital footprints left behind, that he clearly had some obsession with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is obviously a conservative commentator. That's no secret to anyone out there. So while, again, I don't want to speak in advance and jeopardize the case in any way, I think it's fairly obvious to everyone out there, and there's no need to parse words with it, that clearly this was an ideologically motivated attack. I mean, Charlie Kirk is a conservative commentator who sadly and tragically gave his life, underneath a sign asking people to challenge his ideas, the very essence of our constitutional republican. Bill, if I may, I know it's a news show, but Charlie was my friend. Charlie wasn't my friend. Charlie was my good friend. And I spent the weekend, after coming back from Utah, looking through text exchanges going back years with Charlie. And it's kind of hard to believe he's not here. So, this has been hard for everyone. And I think it's fair and appropriate for every one of the taxpayers who finances your FBI to ask questions about everything. You know what? It wasn't perfect, but it should be. Next time, we'll try to make it more perfect. Mm-hmm. But I just ask everyone to keep in mind that both Kash and I, this was very emotional for us. We had to put that aside. We had a job to do. And when everything settled down and finally got a little bit of sleep last night, it hit me that, Charlie's not here anymore. And that was tough for everyone. So I'm not asking for anybody's forgiveness for missteps here and there. We got our guy in 33 hours. Everything, we're going to go look at everything when this is done. And next time when there's a crisis, what we can do well, we can do better, we can do better, we can do even better than that.
Yeah, Dan, I'm sorry for your loss. And I appreciate your work in the story and the investigation. It's important to America and the world to figure this out. And I hope we do in quick order, I will say. But thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Bill.
And let's get it right.
Yes,
thank
sir.
you, Dan.
All right, let's look at a new report. And then we'll play a couple other videos. I appreciate everybody, hanging out tonight, being very respectful in the chat. I love it. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. So let's look at this. Charlie Kirk's shooting suspect, Tyler Robinson, allegedly confessed to the assassination online before arrest. It was me. Tyler Robinson apparently confessed to killing conservative icon Charlie Kirk in an online message to nearly 36 people the day after the assassination. Quote, "Hey guys, I have some bad news for you," reads the chat, reportedly sent by Robinson 22 through the online community Discord, according to Washington Post. Quote, "It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm so sorry for all of this," Robinson allegedly wrote. Quote, "I'm surrendering through a sheriff's friend in a few moments. Thanks for all the good times and laughs. You've all been so amazing. Thank you for everything." Excuse me. The message was sent Thursday night around 2 hours before Robinson was apprehended from an account on the platform tied to the suspect. A screenshot of the conversation, which has been sent to about 30 people, was obtained by the outlet through an anonymous member of the group and has not been independently verified by the Post. Discord previously claimed it found, quote, "no evidence that the suspect planned this incident or promoted violence on Discord after the internal investigation." Robinson's apparent confession, of course, they're gonna put that out there because they don't want any of that types of conversations, obviously, on their platform. But I'm sure that the FBI authorities are going to look a lot deeper into that. Robinson apparently confessed, comes as a federal authorities announced on Monday. They were casting a wider net into the whether pro-trans online community or others knew that the assassination planned to kill the 31-year-old Turning Point USA founder on September 10th. The suspect was arrested September 12th, and his father turned him in to authorities after seeing pictures the FBI posted online soliciting the public's help following a 33-hour manhunt conducted by state and federal law enforcement. I have to say, 33 hours is pretty damn good. I thought this guy was going to be on the run for a little while. I mean, can you imagine that, being his parents and then seeing those photos come through? Like the horror that you must be like, oh my God. And I got to say something, like his family at least did the right thing. They turned him in. Because I know a lot of parents and families would protect. They wouldn't want to turn in their loved one. But they did the right thing. So it says, public statement made by the officials as well as evidence discovering during the investigation indicates that Robinson was deeply immersed in left-wing politics and internet meme culture that had a fixation on furries. Interesting. Utah Governor Spencer Koch said Friday that Robinson had been, quote, deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. And again, we don't know all this yet. I want to wait until the conclusion of the investigation. I know that this is going to be the right and the left, and they're just going to keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting over this. But I want to wait until we get the definitive report. Despite not being registered at any political party, the FBI director Dan Bongino told Fox News Bill Hemmer on Monday that the suspect had some obsession with Kirk based on his digital footprints. He called the assassination an ideologically, I'll get this out. Ideologically, I think I got it, motivated attack. Inscription found in the unspent shell casings of the 30-06 caliber bolt action hunting rifle used to kill Kirk indicated its owner had an affiliation with pro-trans and anti-fascist ideologies. The cast of bullets that killed Kirk was etched. Noticed bulge OWO. What is this? A nod to the 10-year-old internet meme liked to a furry subculture that centers in a sexual interest in anti-morphic animal characters. Robinson is romantically involved with his living roommate who identifies as transgender and is currently transitioning from male to female, official said. So here's the thing. I know a lot of people, I'm not going to do it one more time. A lot of these are tongue twisters, a lot of L's, a lot of O's, a lot of A's. I know there's been a lot of conversation about this as well. And this has been kind of a very sensitive topic in this. And I'm just going to give you my two thoughts on it. The whole part about Robinson's been romantically involved with his living roommate who identifies transgender and is currently transitioned from male to female, Fish said. Like, the thing you have to keep remembering is that what have they said? The roommate has been very cooperative. So I'm pretty sure that that information is true. Now, I can't say 100% sure, but if the roommate's being cooperative, I'm sure they're getting into all the details of the relationship between the roommate and Robinson. So if they're being cooperative and they're saying, look, I'm a transgendered male transitioning to a female, I'm in a romantic relationship, this is what I know, and basically spilling all your guts at the point to give the FBI and authority figures all the information that you can at that point. So it's neither here or there. I mean, whatever, do your thing. A relative of of a roommate who is cooperating with authorities has not been accused of any crime. They said that suspect Robert's radical points may have been influenced by their relationship. Very interesting. Nan Gallagher in the house. Hello, Nan. How are you? We had a fantastic show on Charlie Kirk's on this situation the other night. If you haven't gone back and seen that, please do. And we hit a lot of local topics in and around the Massachusetts area as well during that show. It was a really great show. Just like sat back like two friends and just kicked it and, just threw our ideas around the room. And it's just crazy. This whole thing is crazy. So let's see. He hates, so it goes into, says, quote, he hates conservatives and Christians. The relative of the roommate. He hated us. He was not raised that way, but he was over the years and became really detached and radicalized. So now I have to look like, who was he talking to? I think Tyler got a whole lot worse in the year they had been dating. They were big gamers, and obviously they have a group of influencers influences them as well as others. But my gut tells me the roommate did more of the influencing, the relative told Fox Digital. Robertson is being held without bail in Utah jail and preliminary charges, including aggravated murder, felony discharge of firearm, obstructed justice, reportedly not speaking to investigators. His first court date is tomorrow. Okay, let's hear more about this DNA found at the crime scene. And before we do that, let me just get to this chat. Britt checking in. Thank you, channel member, and a $20 super chat. Thank you so much for being here and supporting. So Britt says, hope we hear details in the days to come regarding the motive and co-conspirators, etc. But man, I'm really mentally torn up after seeing the video. Can't imagine how those there in person are feeling. Thanks for covering this, LTL. Yeah, absolutely. And I saw some videos of people that were there that day, and they're putting YouTube videos out and they're talking about it. I saw a guy that was breaking down the situation. He said it was only about 30 feet away from Charlie. And just broke down multiple times in the video. I mean, this is a lasting effect on people. You have to think, I mean, the lasting effect, one, on his wife that was there, his two children, they're a little bit younger. It's sad they're going to grow up without a father. I'm not sure how that works in the set of trauma with kids. Will they remember this? I don't know. But you have to think, I mean, there was over 3,000, close to almost 3,000 people there that day. All those students now and all those adults that were in that area, they're traumatized for the rest of their life as well, too. I mean, when you see even just the worst things online of just horrible videos that are circulate, on X or, whatever it may be, that stuff sticks with you. It doesn't go away. I mean, I remember, 10 years ago, when some of the ISIS propaganda was going around and they were, killing journalists and beheading journalists, and those videos were floating around, and like, you see that and you're like, man, like it's horrible. You might see a 20-minute, 20-second clip of it. That shit stays with you. It doesn't go away. I mean, just think of something like really traumatic that you've seen in your life, maybe a bad car accident or a crime or whatever it may be. Like, that is ingrained. That doesn't go away. And, especially a situation like this, I mean, an assassination, you're watching someone literally get killed in front of you. And then just the chaos of the situation, the running, the screaming, the gunshot, the violence of the situation. If you were there and you actually saw Charlie's neck, when I first saw the video, when someone sent it to me, when I saw that gush of blood come out from the left side, I instantly thought he got shot in the head because it looked like a headshot to me. But then going back and actually looking at it, it was like, man, it definitely was out of the carotid artery. And it was just horrible overall. But thank you for being here and subscribing, being a member, and for the super chat. I appreciate that. All right, let's play through this here. This was from ABC News. This is more about the DNA found at the crime scene.
The FBI says it has a major new piece of evidence in the investigation into Charlie Kirk's killing. FBI Director Kash Patel said on Fox and Friends this morning they now have DNA placing the suspect at the scene. Now prosecutors say they hope to file charges by tomorrow as we learn more about the suspect. ABC's Jacqueline Lee is on the scene in Orem, Utah. Jacqueline, what's the latest on this new piece of evidence?
Diane, so the FBI Director Kash Patel, he said there were several pieces of evidence they found, DNA evidence that they say was directly linked to the suspect. So he said on the roof where they believe the shot took place, they discovered a screwdriver that had the suspect's DNA evidence on it. And they also say,
moderators, if there's someone being disruptive in the chat, you have the power to time people out. You can do that. We can give them a couple of chances. If they don't correct their behavior, we can bounce them out. You have that power. All right, let's go here.
on the towel that was wrapped around the rifle that was discovered in the woods, they say that also matched the DNA of the suspect. Kash Patel also saying they discovered a note they believe was written before the shooting. They say it was partially destroyed, but that is something else they're going to be looking into. So these are additional pieces of evidence that the Utah County Attorney does have to review before they can file charges. The attorney is saying they do plan on filing those charges tomorrow, but just given the volume of evidence they have to sort through, that could be pushed a few days to Friday. Diane.
Huge memorial
And Jacqueline,
there.
classes are
Wow.
expected to resume at Utah Valley University this week. What are you hearing from students?
So today, employees are set to return here to the university. Students are supposed to return on Wednesday. And the thing is, the shooting was so violent, Diane, and there were more than 3,000 people in attendance at the event. So students we spoke with that came to visit the memorial and pay their respects to Charlie Kirk, many of them said they do not want to return because of how traumatized they are. And, you know, Charlie Kirk, yes, he was a controversial figure, but he did appeal to many students because he traveled the country going to different college campuses to debate people of other viewpoints. So it will be very difficult for these students to return, but eventually it does have to happen. Diane.
All right, Jacqueline Lee, thank you. Let's bring in ABC contributor, former FBI agent Brad Garrett, and ABC legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer for more. Hi to you both. So, Brad, how big of a break is this kind of DNA evidence for investigators?
Oh, it's huge because the key, obviously, Diane, is linking this suspect to committing the crime. In other words, can you put him at the crime scene? I mean, you have video of him coming off the roof. He even talks about, I think at some point, sending someone back to pick up the weapon. And so all of that goes to placing the weapon.
What? What does this guy just say? Sending someone there to pick the weapon up? Wait a minute. Let's
linking this suspect to committing the crime. In other words, can you put him at the crime scene? I mean, you have video of him coming off the roof. He even talks about, I think at some point, sending someone back to pick up the weapon. And so all of that goes to placing the weapon.
Oh, okay. Got you. I was like, what? Hell is he talking to?
In his hands, him committing this act. And that tied with everything else that we've talked about that's out there is that it's a very, very strong case for the prosecution from my perspective.
It's pretty high up.
Brian, what are you watching for as prosecutors
get hurt.
prepare to file charges against the suspect tomorrow?
So actually, it's a lot of little things, right? It's the motive, which probably I shouldn't categorize as a little thing, but how he obtained the firearm and also how he tried to dispose it. Because as Brad pointed out, we do hear that there was some communication as to how to just get rid of the gun or someone to get it elsewhere. In terms of motive, which is probably a larger one.
I think you remember that report.
Because I know he charges that the state is most likely going to raise aggravated murder. As Jacqueline said, there were over 3,000 people in attendance. That's an aggravated factor in Utah that could lead to the death penalty. But I suspect that the federal government is also racing to press charges as well. And there you have to find more of a federal nexus. So I'm interested to see how they get there.
Brad, FBI Co-Deputy Director Dan Bongino was on Fox News shortly after Director Patel, and he said it appears the shooting was communicated to someone else. What does that part of the investigation look like?
Well, someone else, is that online? I'm going to guess it's online. Can you actually identify the other person that got this alleged message? I mean, clearly, Diane, that would be an important piece of information if this alleged shooter made comments about that he was going to go harm Charlie. Then again, it's another piece of evidence. It shows sort of his predisposition to go commit this act. And that's going to add to potentially what both the state and the feds will ultimately charge him with.
And Brian, if someone else knew about this shooting beforehand and failed to alert authorities, again, could we see someone else face charges here too?
So as you pose the question, the answer would be no, because mere knowledge of another individual either committing a crime, committing a crime, or is about to, is not enough to prosecute a person. If you knew about it and you gave substantial steps, so for the example, whoever the shooter communicated with in terms of trying to pick up that firearm, if they then took substantial steps, maybe not even actually picking up the firearm because law enforcement got it, but they attempted to do so, then yes, that person could be charged with a crime. But you have to do more than just simply be aware or know of it. You have to take steps, and that's when you get into the world of conspiracy to either commit the crime or cover it up.
Got it. All right. And we'll be, of course, just following what investigators say more about that. Brad Garrett.
If you knew someone was committing a crime, or you knew someone that committed a crime and you didn't tell, wouldn't that put you legally liable? That doesn't make any sense. So if I knew that this guy, if Robinson kills Kirk, and then he tells me, and I have that information, and I don't go to authorities, I'm not held responsible or liable in any way? I mean, am I right on that, Nan? So if Robinson kills Kirk and I'm Robinson's friend, and Robinson comes to me and confesses, and I don't go to the authorities, I'm not held liable? That doesn't make any sense. I thought you would be held liable because you have information. Right. I would be an accomplice because I'm hiding that information. I'm like, that didn't make any sense to me. All right, this video is going to end here. Let's go to Face the Nation from this morning. And we'll hear a little bit more about new details that were put out this morning. And then Law and Crime Fix has a video that they dropped about a day ago on the inside of the mind of Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin. And we'll end with that tonight. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Here we go.
The man who allegedly shot and killed Charlie Kirk is expected to face the charges against him in a courtroom tomorrow. Utah's governor told reporters that 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is not cooperating with authorities. He also said investigators are still trying to figure out a motive for the killing. CBS News' Bradley Blackburn is here with me in studio with more on this. Good morning, Bradley. What do we know?
Errol, he is not cooperating, but his family and friends are. And officials do suggest that they are making progress in this investigation as they comb through the suspect's life for clues. Authorities are sharing new details about the suspect charged with killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk last week. The Utah County Sheriff says 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is being closely watched in a special housing unit.
He does come from a conservative family, but his ideology was very different than his family.
On multiple Sunday news shows, Utah Governor Spencer Cox said Robinson is not cooperating. though his friends and relatives are.
The roommate was a romantic partner, a male transitioning to female. This partner.
And I know people are very up in arms about this, but like I said, they said that the partner has been completely cooperating with officials. So if the partner is completely cooperating with officials, I'm pretty sure that this information has come out. Here we go.
Been incredibly cooperative, had no idea that this was happening.
The governor added that at this time, it is not clear if the roommate's identity is relevant to the case. According to a police affidavit, the roommate showed investigators Discord messages that the suspect sent.
You know, and then the only thing that I think about this too is that because the roommate is talking or the boyfriend is talking, okay, maybe they don't want to arrest them at this point because they are talking and they want to try to see how much more information they can get. And obviously they want to find out the involvement. But how about this? They back up and say, well, there could be a possibility if we arrest the live-in boyfriend, if we arrest them, then they might shut down too and not talk to authorities anymore. So let them talk. All right, here we go.
Mentioning a rifle wrapped in a towel left in the bushes and bullet casings with anti-fascist inscriptions, all similar to evidence authorities say they've collected. The affidavit also says a family member told police that the suspect had mentioned that Kirk would be in Utah ahead of last week's event. Vigils honoring Kirk were held around the country yesterday, including at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C.
Charlie Kirk did so much in his short life.
Kirk's public memorial service is scheduled for Sunday at State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona.
We lost a great person.
President Trump says he plans to attend. On Friday, Charlie Kirk's widow gave a live-streamed speech from the set where he recorded many of his videos. She thanked his supporters and the president and vice president for their support. I
don't know how she had the strength. I don't know. I don't think there's any way that I could have. All right, here we go.
President himself will host Kirk's podcast, The Charlie Kirk Show, later today, Errol.
All right, Bradley, thank you for that. CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand joins us now from the White House with more. Natalie, good morning. President Trump says he will attend Kirk's funeral, which we just heard about. Tell us about that and the overall impact of this assassination in Washington.
Yeah, President Trump confirming to reporters that he will leave early Sunday for Kirk's funeral to be held in Glendale, Arizona. We've also learned that Vice President J.D. Vance, who, as we've been reporting, was extremely close with Kirk, says that he will today host the Charlie Kirk Show, his podcast, to pay tribute to his friend. And also in Bradley's report, you saw the clips of this prayer vigil held at the Kennedy Center last night, attended by a number of top White House officials, some top Republican lawmakers, including the Speaker of the House and also grassroots activists. Now, House Speaker Mike Johnson, in some lengthy comments, spoke about Charlie's legacy, but also what he describes as the sadness, grief, anger, and fear in the wake of his killing, saying it's as if a dark shadow was cast over the country. Speaker Johnson, also speaking to CBS News and Face the Nation, talked about the need for leaders to turn down the political rhetoric. Take a listen.
I think if we all adopt these practices together and we turn down the rhetoric, we cease with this idea that policy disputes are somehow an existential threat to democracy or the republic. I think this could be a turning point, frankly, to use Charlie's term, for the country, and I hope that's true.
And we're hearing this message from a number of lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. Senator Coons, a Delaware Democrat speaking to Face the Nation, also talked about the internet seeming to drive extremism in the country and a need to just step away from that. Speaker Johnson, in his interview, also noted the fear that's overtaken a number of lawmakers who are thinking about trying to boost security or had to cancel events over the weekend. Speaker Victor Johnson saying that is being discussed as well over on Capitol Hill.
Thank you.
All right, Natalie Brand with the latest there. Thank you. The non-profit.
Yeah, Erica's. I mean, I watched it live. I don't know how she did it. Sharon says, I think her strength comes from her beliefs in religion. That being said, she mostly completely broke down at some point in the future. I feel bad for her and their children. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, she watched her husband get assassinated. Yeah, definitely shock will take over at some point. I believe so too. It's crazy. All right, a little bit more here, and then we're going to get to the crime fix video of inside the mind of Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin. Here we go.
Profit Kirk started announced his funeral will take place this upcoming Sunday at State Farm Stadium there in Glendale, Arizona. President Trump plans to attend. Last night, there was a vigil at the Kennedy Center where many high-profile political figures spoke about Kirk's impact on the Republican Party and the MAGA movement.
It's happening in large part due to the blood, the sweat, and the tears that Charlie poured into this movement, not just during the 2024 cycle, but all the way back to the founding of Turning Point 13 years ago.
CBS News national correspondent Carter Evans joins us now from Spanish Fork, Utah. Good morning, Carter. You know, online, as we might imagine, there's so much speculation about what's happening, but what is accurate and new about the investigation?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to tell you where I am. This is the Utah County Jail, and this is where the suspect is right now. And he is in a special housing unit where he's under close supervision. They're trying to determine if he could be a harm to himself or others. Now, as for the investigation, over the weekend, we learned from Utah's governor a little bit more about the suspect's personal life, specifically that he was in a romantic relationship with his roommate, and that his roommate is in the process of transitioning genders. But the governor did point out that it's not clear if that's relevant to this case. He did say that that is something that they are looking into.
Yeah,
All right, Carter Evans, thank you. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Zhang has more on this. Good morning, Weijia. President Trump continues to go after the political left following Charlie Kirk's assassination. What are you hearing?
That's right, Errol. He has basically said this since he first started making comments about Charlie Kirk's assassination. And last night here in Washington at the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts, there was a huge vigil for Charlie Kirk. Many senior administration officials and elected leaders were there, and they really spoke about Kirk and his influence on their lives, in many cases personally, because he was such a close friend to so many, especially here in the White House. President Trump did not attend this vigil, but earlier in the day, he did stop to, as you already mentioned, confirm he is attending Kirk's funeral this coming up weekend and to talk about who he believes is responsible. Take a listen.
The problem is on the left. If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right, like some people like to say on the right. The problem we have is on the left. And when you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place, that's the left. That's not the right.
There has been a surge in political violence, Errol, in the past 15 months or so, with lawmakers in both parties, with political leaders in both parties targeted as victims. And the president has not yet been directly asked about the fact that, that is true. And we are hearing from other elected officials who are urging anyone who has a platform to tone down the rhetoric, to turn down the temperature, because this is such a vulnerable time for the country.
Yeah, and that's one point that seems to be bipartisan, to tone down the rhetoric. Weijia.
But are they really doing it? I haven't seen it get toned down. I've just seen people doubling down on each side. They come out and say, all right, tone down the rhetoric. But all I've seen is just kicking up more. All right, let's watch this from Lauren Crime Fix, Anjanette Levy. This is inside the mind of Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin. We'll end with this tonight. I want to thank everybody for being here. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support tonight. You guys are all amazing. Of course, I'll talk about these things here on this channel. I'm not afraid to get into it. We're going to start tackling some local cases here back in Massachusetts as well, too, and around the United States. All right, here we go. Let's play through this.
Congratulations, you were selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University. The value of this scholarship is approximately $32,000. This scholarship is available for 4 years or 8 semesters.
That was Tyler Robinson reading a college scholarship letter to his mom a few years ago. Now he's facing an aggravated murder charge in the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. So what happened and what is going on in Robinson's mind? I take a look. Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Tyler Robinson is now infamous. He is a 22-year-old man who, if convicted, will go down in the history books as an assassin, someone who carried a rifle to a college campus and murdered in cold blood a rising political star of the Republican Party. We're going to get into what could have motivated Robinson, what could be going on up here very shortly. It's really hard for most of us to understand. This murder was recorded on camera and horrified the crowd of thousands at Utah Valley University in Orem and left Charlie Kirk's wife, a widow, and his 2 children without a father. Kirk bled out within minutes, and a 33-hour manhunt ensued. I spoke with retired FBI agent Ed Jacobson about how this investigation unfolded.
Something like this that occurs, an event that occurs like this, it's all hands on deck. State, local, federal authorities, it's any resource they've got at their disposal they're going to throw at an investigation like this quickly.
What was going on behind the scenes, do you think? We obviously know they were going through the videos, the surveillance footage, trying to track this kid down, trying to track his movements. What else was going on? Do you think the BAU was brought into this? What do you think happened?
Everything. Like I said, when it's all hands on deck, it is exactly that. It's the full resources of not just the FBI, I'm sure the ATF and any of the federal agencies out there all jump in as much as they can to provide the resources necessary for this. And it's, you go out and you gather everything you can. You interview as many witnesses as possible that might have seen something. You gather video from everything within the vicinity of that to try to track movement.
And the good thing now, everybody has a door cam or some kind of ring cam or a secure. There's cameras everywhere now. Even just look at all the video that we've seen so far. The limited video they've been showing. I'm sure there's a lot more of Tyler Robinson that the authorities have. They probably could track his movements, a lot more than they've been showing. But that's the good thing about it. Everybody has a camera now. There's cameras everywhere, except for Fairview. Yeah, except for Fairview. Well, there was a camera, but it didn't record that night. The footage got lost. All right, here we go.
You just throw the net and grab as much as you can. And then, of course, all of that information's got to be reviewed. So you've got teams gathering, teams reviewing, and trying to put together the picture as fast as possible to lead you to a suspect. Understand at this point, you're just trying to find a suspect. You're not digging deep into ideologies or anything else like that. You're just trying to reach probable cause to be able to make an arrest. Now, what's hard to believe is now the investigation truly begins. This is actually just the tip of the iceberg getting to the arrest. Now is when you've got to start really digging into every bit of evidence out there once you've made that arrest. But it's a simple matter. I can't even say it's simple, but it's a matter of getting to that probable cause of identifying the suspect, having enough evidence to tie him to the crime and get him into custody.
Talk to me about what is going to happen now in the investigation. Obviously, they're going to want to know what was going on up here, and they're going to look at his electronics. They're going to talk. They've already talked to the roommate. You talked about ideology. I mean, the etchings on the shell casings alone and on the bullets, it's kind of leaving me thinking what was going on here, because he's saying fascist in one of them, talking about if you can read this, you're gay, LMAO. I mean, it seems like there's some competing things going on here. I'm not really sure where he's coming from.
And you have to understand, from the investigative standpoint, they're going to turn over every rock they can, and you're going to get what you can. But at the end, that doesn't really matter for what the investigators are concerned with, because the investigators are concerned with proving beyond a reasonable doubt he committed this crime. A lot of times it's you go back to the Kohberger, where everybody wants to know motive. We would all like to know motive, but is it necessary to spend something you may never get? You may never know the full details of what's going on in his mind. And at the end of the day, to do our jobs, we don't need to know that. We just need to be able to put forth enough evidence to get a conviction of the crime that he's accused of.
And that work is already well underway. And it sounds like they've already got a small mountain of evidence in the form of ballistics, palm print, if that was even readable, a whole lion's share of things that they've got going on.
Right. And then, so now what you're doing is you're getting into the deeper dive, because you have obviously the crime everybody witnessed, which was a homicide, and everybody witnessed. Now you've got other codes that take into account that may come out from further evidence as they further dive. But everything that possibly can be obtained is going to be obtained, because they're going to put, like I said, the full force of all of those agencies down there collecting that. That's what you're saying. You're going into the deep dive on electronics. You're going into the deep dive on this guy's history, on his patterns, on his movements, on everything, because that all goes to, the fact of how long did he plan this and how much did he put into it, which all gets into what you've got to prove in court.
What's going to become very important as this investigation moves forward is maybe what Tyler Robinson was doing online, and what will be important if prosecutors do indeed pursue the death penalty are aggravating factors. We've already heard about some of that from the governor.
So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this?" ? Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist!" ! Catch! Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. A second unfired casing read, "Oh Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Bella Chow, Chow Chow." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO."
So right there, you're hearing about major premeditation. We know that Tyler Robinson was a good student when he was younger. His mom boasted about his 4.0 GPA in high school and his 34 out of 36 on the ACT. He had a college scholarship.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's why we do this. Everybody's been pretty civil through all of these. I've done 3 shows on this, updates, and everybody's been really civil on it. Sorry, I'm kind of fading out. I've been doing some stuff while watching the video. I haven't really been stopping and commenting, so I apologize on that. But let's finish this one out about another 10 minutes or so, and then we'll wrap it up.
but only went to Utah State University for one semester in the fall of 2021 before taking a leave of absence. Federal privacy laws prevent the university from saying what happened. So to try to dig into this a little more, I brought in an expert. Dr. Daniel Bober has been with me many times before. He's a forensic psychiatrist who deals a lot with young people. So Dr. Bober, your reaction to this Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old who was once a straight A student, 4.0 student. I guess his mom was bragging about him on Facebook when he was younger, being charged with the aggravated murder of Charlie Kirk.
We've seen this before. There are a lot of missing pieces. There are things we don't know. But, you know, when you look at a situation like this, you realize that the temperature is very hot in this country. There's a lot of extremism, a lot of tribalism, identity politics. But let's be honest, you know, all of that we're exposed to all the time, most people do not become violent. Most people don't try to shoot someone with a rifle. So
it's crazy too, and you look and it's like, where is all this ideology really coming out of? Where is it all starting? You know, you're seeing it like at the college level, you know, and it may be leaking into some of the high school level now, and it may be younger. I don't know, but that's where you're seeing a lot of this stuff start. High school, college, that age. It's like, get them before they go out into the world. We'll start pushing our ideologies, whatever it may be, left or right, on these young, and let's just face it, impressionable minds. You know, we had young, impressionable minds. You know, I know I was when I was that age, 18, 19, 20 years old, of course. You know, even younger than that, maybe 15, 16, whatever it is. But it's where it starts. With our youth. All right, let's go.
So there obviously are some unique characteristics about this individual that put them at risk to do that. And, there are a lot of different models that look at this. If we look at this through a psychiatric lens, we look at what are some of the predisposing factors, were there narcissistic or antisocial traits? Was there a family history of mental illness, a lack of social supports? Then we look at what are the precipitating factors, right? Political radicalization, acute stressors. Was there job loss? Was there financial strain? Was there academic problems? Was he rejected interpersonally in some sort of relationship? And perpetuating factors like the social media echo chamber, feeling isolated, cognitive rigidity or lack of problem-solving skills. And there were some protective factors, right? He had what we believe is a supportive family. Did he have access to mental health services? And for that matter, was there a history of mental illness? And of course, we know this tipster that came by his own family to let authorities know that he was the one that was alleged to have committed this crime. So obviously, that didn't help prevent the crime because it occurred after the fact, but it obviously assisted in his capture.
One of the things that has really piqued my interest, I'm trying to get a whole picture here, and we're still so early on in all of this. And even if this kid explained why he did what he did, if he in fact is the guy, and it looks like he's the guy and he's convicted, it's not going to ever make any sense to us at all. Will make zero sense to us, to you and me. But what's interesting to me is that he had this big time scholarship to Utah State University. He was telling his parents about it. He goes there in the fall of 2021. He's a pre-engineering student, and the school told me in the fall of 2021, he takes a leave of absence. They can't tell me why because of FERPA, but he leaves and he never goes back.
There's the missing piece, right? Something happened there.
Something happened
that we don't know. Was he using substances? Was he rejected in some sort of romantic relationship? We don't know. But the most interesting thing about this case and these cases in general is, where does someone make the leap from adopting this political ideology and radicalization to violence, right? Because anger is the beginning. Violence doesn't start with anger. It starts where grievance meets justification. And to me, that is the most interesting thing about this, which is you have someone who was radicalized, who was probably looking at social media, was involved in this echo chamber where all these ideas were reinforced. But to make that leap from just adopting an ideology to actually committing such a horrific, violent act, to me, that's the most interesting part.
It really is. And this is giving me kind of flashbacks, if you will, to Luigi Mangione. It almost has some copycat aspects to it. We've got somebody, carrying out a homicide, planning it. We've got the etchings on the shell casings on the bullets. We have, an attempt to.
I mean, that's what you have to look at too. I mean, the time that was put into this to do that etch bullets, it just didn't happen overnight. You don't just think of that overnight. So this has been planned. This has been timed. I mean, this could have been years in the making, and I'm really curious to see what they're going to uncover when they start deep diving into the computers, the cell phones, the online chats, because people always leave a footprint in all of this stuff. So it's got to start somewhere. All right, a couple more minutes here and we'll wrap this up. Thanks for being here. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Comment in the chat. Let's see how you feel about this. All right, here we go.
Disguise, the outfit and everything, the hat. He shows up in one set of clothes, leaves in another. So there's stuff going on here. I mean, there's some serious premeditation going on here.
Sure.
And
There's planning, organization, attempts to conceal the crime. He flees, obviously. So this is not something that he woke up one morning and decided to do. This is something he was thinking about and planning for quite some time.
And one thing that's incredibly disturbing, you talked about the radicalization here and being in these echo chambers. We know that this guy was on Discord. We've heard about that already, that he's talking about this on Discord. His roommate shows the cops some messages from that. And so these chat rooms or whatever can be crazy. I mean, I'm calling it a chat room. That's what it is, basically. But that's, Discord can be a crazy place. That can be a really bad place, depending on what's going on up here with you. And then we've got the video game aspect of this. And then we just don't know what he was reading. I think we'll learn more about that. But we know with these shell casings, they were apparently etched with anti-fascist sayings. One of them says, "Hey, fascist catch." Another is, "Oh, Bella ciao, Bella ciao, Bella ciao, ciao, ciao." I mean, that's apparently some type of anti-fascist rallying cry. "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO," laughing my A off. All this crazy stuff. I'm just flabbergasted by this. So what does that say to you, Dr. Bober, about what is going on with somebody? I mean, this seems kind of like, and he took off and apparently told his father when confronted, "I'd rather kill myself than turn myself in." So what does all of this say to you, other than we've got somebody who is probably pretty disturbed?
In my clinical experience, the people that spread the most hate are often the ones that love themselves the least. This was probably someone, again, who was suffering, maybe suffering in silence, going through some kind of a personal crisis. Again, a relationship breakup, something that happened that we didn't know about, shame, humiliation, that put him over the edge. This wasn't simply just a case of him going on social media and adopting some extremist ideology. There had to be personal factors. Again, and I've said this many times, it's never just one thing. We know the majority of legal gun owners are not violent. We know that the majority of people who watch, different channels that are extreme or polarized in nature don't commit violent acts. It's never just one thing. It's a multitude of factors that play out into the
one that Nan says. She said the ones that spread the most hate are the ones who love themselves the least. Yep, that tracks. It's very, 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 very true. It's very true. It's very true. Couple more minutes on this.
Perfect storm.
Another thing that we've got going on here, it seems that his family may be pretty conservative. He was raised in the LDS church, not a surprise, in Utah. Dad apparently is a a Republican, a Trump supporter, and now we have this kid potentially going the other way. And I say potentially because there's also this speculation that there's speculation online that he may have been what's called a groper, which is a far right person, but everything we're reading here in the affidavit seems to point the other way. So we don't really know. I don't know.
And there's one other possibility. Maybe all of this is a red herring. Maybe all of this is a distractor.
Yep.
This political ideology, this radicalism.
I'm glad they said
Maybe
that.
it's something very simple. Again, the loss of a job, some kind of personal rejection, and he was looking for some kind of toxic outlet for his feelings, and he adopted this ideology to feel empowered in some way. But maybe we're looking in the wrong place because we just don't know enough yet.
It's very true.
You know, and it seems like his family is telling law enforcement that he had talked about Charlie Kirk and how much he didn't like him because he felt that Charlie Kirk spewed hate. But then we've got all this other stuff online talking about how he possibly didn't like Charlie Kirk enough because he didn't think Charlie Kirk was conservative enough. But you think possibly, is it possibly he just wants to kill somebody and he comes up with this as a way to do it?
Sure, this could just be the vehicle. This could just be an opportunity for him. We all have people in different political positions that maybe we don't agree with their viewpoints, but we're not going out trying to kill them. So there are clearly individual factors here at work that we don't know about. And in the days and the weeks that come, we're going to find out a lot more about this individual. We're going to find out, hopefully, what motivated him to do this. And there may indeed be a history of mental illness, although I say this all the time. The people with mental illness are more likely to be the victims of violence and not the perpetrators. But there are certainly certain types of mental illness with certain types of symptoms that can cause people to commit acts of violence.
I feel like this leave of absence from the school where you were heading to college, you had the scholarship. I feel like that's going to tell us a lot if we can ever get any information about that, because that just doesn't comport, going from pre-engineering, straight A student, 34 on the ACTs.
Yeah, his ACTs were
It's literally Brian Koberger. It's Brian Koberger. It's the same type of person. We heard about Koberger, how brilliant he was, PhD student, and then all of a sudden just snaps, kills 4 people. And we're never going to probably ever find out why. And we may never find out why in this case either. Something just snaps inside these people. It's crazy.
99th percentile. Absolutely. Someone who is, by all accounts, brilliant. For sure.
His mom called him a genius, and there's nothing wrong with this. Now he's at technical college, in an electrician program, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it just seems like we've got a major difference in where he was and where he is.
Why this social drift? Something doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And a man is dead, and 2 children are without their father, and a wife is without her husband. And it's sickening. Dr. Daniel Bober, thank you for your time as always.
Thank you, Anjanette.
And we'll continue to look into this and try to figure out what on earth happened.
Yeah, it's wild. This whole thing is just wild. Lauren says you can't kill ideology. That's why ISIS popped up when the U.S. went after Al Qaeda. Trying to destroy it only makes it stronger. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know where this is gonna land. We may never know. We may never know what the whole sole purpose behind this all was. I don't know. But, keep my eye on it as new details come out, talk about it, and we'll keep discussing it. Let's see. Peter says it's hard to get when you're a genius. Nobody speaks your language. You are alone. Yeah. Might be true. Smoking Gun says, I want to know what meds all these killers are on. They never tell us anymore, but they used to be on those depression meds. We're doing things like this. It's very true too. Isn't like that thing about Accutane was causing people to go crazy. the acne medication. Didn't someone try to say it was their medication? They killed someone, tried saying it was their medication, and they was trying to say it was Accutane. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, with all the laws now, with HIPAA and all that stuff, we don't hear about anything anymore. They keep it all a secret. They keep it all a secret. All right. Well, I think we're going to shut this one down for tonight. I appreciate everybody being here. And if you haven't already, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for the support tonight. Scalzo Photo, Deborah, thank you. Britt, thank you for the super chats. I appreciate it. And we'll keep my eye on this one. I try to let this kind of play out in about a 24-hour cycle to see what the conversation is and then do updates. So that's probably how I'm going to handle this one. But it is a very important situation that's going on in America and around the world right now. It needs to be talked about. And I do hope they find some type of motive or to see if this guy was working with anybody else. They need to be brought to justice as well, too. So thanks for being here. Appreciate it, everybody. Please, hug your loved ones a little bit closer. Do that. All right. I'm going to head out, everybody. Everybody have a great night. Thanks for watching. Talk to everybody soon. Peace.